Justification could include, to ensure the safety of others, to minimize risk to lives and property, and to ensure sustainability of wildlife throughout the province of Manitoba. So the court had said these more general questions are important not only to Peguis and Manitoba, but to hunters generally, as well as to members of the public. Again, as it relates to safety, property damage, conservation, sustainability. So the court essentially determined that this case is of significant public importance and not purely an issue between the two parties, being Manitoba and Peguis. The court also found that the Manitoba Wildlife Federation has a direct interest in the subject matter beyond that of the general public. So the court stated that the Manitoba Wildlife Federation is an organization with objectives that include, as Mike touched on, the protection of the environment and wildlife populations. Their objectives also include encouraging safe and ethical hunting practices. The court also concluded that the Manitoba Wildlife Federation is devoted to promoting the objects of wildlife conservation and hunter safety and responsibility. So while Peguis, of course, opposed the Manitoba Wildlife Federation's application for intervenor status and made several strong arguments in support of their position, the court again ultimately ruled in favor of the Manitoba Wildlife Federation. It's important to note that in its decision, the court also placed some limitations on the Manitoba Wildlife Federation's involvement. So the Manitoba Wildlife Federation, again, was granted sort of the full rights and obligations of a party, including with respect to discovery. However, the court had said that the Manitoba Wildlife Federation can only seek to be involved in this litigation within their scope of expertise on the issues. And of course, the court had said previously in the decision that the scope of their expertise is really limited to safety and conservation. So really, the Manitoba Wildlife Federation's involvement is most relevant to sort of that justification stage of this matter. So if the court finds that the night hunting provisions do infringe upon Peguis's treaty right to hunt, the court will then need to consider whether that infringement is justified. Again, for example, to ensure the safety of others, minimize risk to lives and property, ensure sustainability of wildlife throughout the province. So this does not include treaty rights or the constitutional relationship between Peguis and Manitoba. There are also some ways that this decision could be useful for Peguis's purposes. So, for example, as I touched on, the Manitoba Wildlife Federation has the same rights and obligations as Peguis and Manitoba. So these obligations apply to sort of oral discovery and document disclosure. So this basically means that the Manitoba Wildlife Federation has to disclose relevant information and documents, which will include information and documents on their lobbying efforts to get Bill 29 passed. Peguis will also have an opportunity to question and cross-examine representatives from the Manitoba Wildlife Federation on these issues. So again, this litigation has been ongoing since early 2022. Litigation moves slowly, court processes move slowly, but we're doing our best to keep this moving forward as efficiently as possible. That's about it for me in terms of our update. Subject to anything else you want to add, Mike?
No, that's good. Thank you, Nisha.
Thanks, everyone.
Before I call up Wayne, I had Barry Rabuski, who did a lot of work with Manitoba Conservation, policy analysts and so on, draft up a briefing report on today's meeting. So it's if you didn't get a copy, it's upstairs at the registration table, and give you a little bit of better understanding and some history behind where we're here, where we're at here today. All right, so I just want to call up on Grand Wayne Maningway. He has a few words to say. He just wants to talk about his incident and that happened to him this fall in a community of Peguis. And yeah, I'll make sure he's 10 minutes. Yeah. 2 minutes, Dave says.
Ani, Bushu. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge all our elders here, our women, and our nation. And it's so important that we come together as one. Because what did my friend Nisha, and I've been talking to her lots, and I've been frustrated since the time I got caught, where I was totally stressed because they have took my boy's truck and he had no vehicle. And the hardship it brought on me and my partner, because the wife was upset. And I had faith. I prayed. Asked Spirit, asked grandfathers to help me in a good way that things will work out. And sure enough, I fought tooth and nail, and I communicated with Nisha. I thank her. We should have a person like that in every province representing our people. We need them. On Aboriginal laws and treaty rights, instead of us reaching all the way across the West. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm very glad that this young lady had helped us. We gotta fight this government, and I'm calling on our Grand Chief, AMC, and all these ones. And I hope we, as one, a nation, lobby our leaders to help us fight this. It's not about just us Peguis, it's about all of us. In the most respectful way, we're in this fight together. You know, as a Peguis band member, it's not about Peguis alone. It's about all of us here. That's why we're here. We're in this fight. We got to stand together just as we sit here and meet. And I thank Seti for coming. Appreciate that. Because this is so important. They talk about reconciliation, people. What is reconciliation? Reconciliation is respect our treaty rights. That should have been the first and foremost put on the table than anything else. That is the law that was put forward back to the same way as we did it today. Our ancestors, our grandfathers used to pipe. My grandfather was a counselor back in the day, and he shared something. He said, "You see this white piece of paper? It's damaging. It's lies. It's going to turn against our people." At the time, I didn't fully understand, because I was just a grandson, I was just a young boy. You could interpret this the way you want it to benefit yourself. And that's what's happening. But when we use our pipes, our sacredness, we're committing to the Creator, the Spirit, and intent. And that's the way our ancestors did it. The more we chase this, the more lies are put in front of us. Because everybody can interpret it the way they want it to see fit. I was told that when I was a young boy, and it's happening. I've been a land-based educator for over 20-some years, teaching youth the ways of our people, we called it. That's what hurts me. I want to take our kids back to the land and give them their God-given right to hunt, trap, and live off the land. Because I traveled to many big organized meetings and gatherings in the West and across Canada. And our elders always say, our kids, we got to take them back to the land. And I'm asking our leaders, I'm doing what is being asked for me. And I pray that you see and understand this. That you fight this. That's why a lot of our youth are so struggling out there. They lost connection to the land. They lost connection of who they are. It's hurting us that way as well. I love working with my youth. That's my goal, my vision. And I always share this with the kids when I'm in school. At the time when I was a little boy, I was out in a camp. My dad was a hunter, a trapper, my great-grandfather. I was out in the bush, I was freezing, I was crying. I was so cold. At the time I didn't understand, and I cried and I wondered why. Why am I out in the bush freezing? My dad take me out. And today it makes a lot of sense to me because now I'm giving these kids that opportunity. I'm passing that down. Our youth, I'm telling you, our elders, our people, are struggling because they lost connection to the land. And our elders, our spiritual leaders, and for myself, I know, in order to make our kids healthy, to make our nation healthy, we've got to go back to the land. And it's been said that in a lot of gatherings. I traveled a lot of gatherings with my friend Mike. We've been fighting this since, I don't know, we've traveled many nights, meeting elders, gatherings. We got to stick together. I pray in that spirit that we come as one. Our chiefs are got to go to and fight this. Reconciliation, people. What is reconciliation? To me, our inherent right, our treaty rights, should have been on the first part of that whole reconciliation. Because they're slowly being taken away. It's hurting us big time. I was out hunting with my boy. For whatever reason, I had a feeling something was going to happen. I had a broken ankle and a torn ACL in my knee. It's still in recovery, but I still went with my boy. We got stopped for night lighting. I just had that feeling, okay, I want this, I actually told the CEO, I was waiting for this day. And there was 8 of them. Like, that was totally ridiculous. I'm not saying all of those CEOs were bad, but there was the head one that was so advocate of charging us. There was those other 7. They were talking to us. They were communicating with us. One even said, oh, I don't know if we can even charge you for anything. We might stop, let you go. But this one, he was advocating to take everything. And I said, well, you gentlemen, I said, guys, why are you letting one person, and there's 6 of you just standing here, make that decision. You're not helping. You're hurting. I made them think about what had happened, what was going on. And you know, I don't know, they want conservation kept he says, I want to, give me your number, I want to give you an update. And he was phoning me, give me an update. But I think he might have got in trouble. But because he was trying to do that, he knew that they had no reason to do that, to take everything from us. We didn't do nothing wrong. We had permission. My son was given a permission letter. We actually phoned the owner that same night, and he was on the phone with that CEO, and that CEO says, well, I don't know, we might just have to give you back your stuff and let you just go. But this one bad apple, you know, and I was pretty upset. I said, you know, you guys, that's what hurts you guys. Because you're letting one person carry out hate here. Because as First Nations, you know, my people, I pray, come together. We got to come together. Enough is enough. I had enough. And how can I go on teaching my grandchildren, your grandchildren? How can I take them back to the land and we're getting restrictions on us? And all of our elders, a lot of the parents, it's the best place to take your kids. And like I said, I suffered when I was young. But at least now I have a better understanding the reason why my dad took me out on the line, took me on to, because I can give it back to the kids. I can teach those kids what I've been shown. I suffered for it. And I ain't going to suffer for nothing. I'm still going to teach those kids. I did it 13 years volunteer out of the kindness of my heart because I loved working with the kids. It wasn't about the money. Every weekend I was out in the bush with the kids. We were trapping, we were hunting. I was teaching about medicinal plants and medicines and how to survive. Our kids need that healing. I say this in the most respectful and humble way of people. I don't mean to offend anybody, but we got to stand together. It's hurting our generations. Enough is enough, and I told Nisha that I'm so upset with what's happening. And I hope our leaders really step up to the plate. We got to, you know, reconciliation. I say reconciliation, even with our fishermen. So disrespectful. Our treaty on Aboriginal rights should have been the first thing on reconciliation. And that should be mentioned. Reconciliations. Start respecting our treaty rights. Anytime, and my grandfather said, anytime government writes a paper, it's not going to benefit us. They wouldn't put that in front of us unless it's benefiting them. And that still stands today. When I was a young boy, my grandfather was a counselor. He was also an army veteran. You know, with that, I just wanted to share that with these people. We got to stand together. We got to stand together. I pray and hope we all can, from this meeting, it's not about Peguis, it's about all of us here. We got to come together. I'm very thankful my buddy Mike and I, we had the chance. And this is not left. I'm going to keep on my buddy Mike and myself to procedures that we should have in the most respectful way with our chiefs. We should have, whenever legislation is put something forward, that we should have a party looking after our treaty and Aboriginal rights if it's affecting them, if it's infringing on them. Because our chiefs and all these delegates are too busy. We should have an organizing set aside for that. Whenever something's passed through legislation, that we should have people there looking at that. This is just something that should be done. Because they're doing things, and no disrespect, a lot of our leaders are real busy, I know that. Like, the way issues, we should have people designated for that. And also we should have a funding for money from our leaders, that how it, the ones that are fighting these cases, there should be funding there to help them, because they're losing everything. I'm a community hunter. I don't hunt for myself. I'll tell you a story. Just this fall, I went out, I broke my ankle, I tore my ACL, and I still went hunting, and I got, not bragging, 3 moose. I donated 2 to the community, and I kept 1. That's who I am. It's not about me. It's helping the people that can't get out there and get them. That's how dedicated I am as a land-based educator, as a provider, as a community hunter. I'll tell you my story because I imagine there's a lot of other men out there that are trying to do the same thing. Women. So, you know, I share this with you because it hurts me, because I work with youth. I want my youth to go out on the land and not be discriminated or stopped. It's going to kill us. It slowly is. So with that, you know, I give thanks to the Creator for guiding us all here. We're all meant to be here. Otherwise we wouldn't be here. Spirit will always look after us. So with that, you know, I say Chimi Grits, and I thank you for allowing me to share a little bit of my hurt, my frustrations, and most important, in what I do in life for the youth. That's my mandate. The youth, the grandchildren. Chimi Grits, thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. I asked Jesse Spence if his son was going to be here today, Joe, because I wanted Joe to share an experience that happened to him a while back, where they were left out in the bush. I don't know if he made it here yet, so I'm going to call on Grand Chief Treaty 2 Cornell McLean. And Cornell has some words to say, and you know, there have been many incidents within this treaty area as well, and I wanted him to share a bit here this morning. Thank you, Chief.
Good morning, bonjour. I'm Chief Cornell McLean, Lake Manitoba First Nation. I'm also the Grand Chief of Treaty 2. I'm here today, you know, I hear a lot about the hunting stuff, about our sovereignty, how it's being infringed, but also what about the fishermen? Like, let's talk about that. So, you know, I've been involved in the flood issue, the channel issue, things like that. You know, I really feel for them because, you know, in the north, you got the Northern Flood Agreement. When the waters drop, they get a check. When our waters drop, we don't get nothing. We get piss off. Pardon my language. I think what needs to happen here, we need to get a Southern Flood Agreement for our people, because they're going to create that channel. It comes right through Lake Manitoba to, you know, through Lake St. Martin, that way, all the way. It affects all these fishermen, all their livelihoods. And, you know, everybody depends on their livelihoods there for fish. And what is that going to do? All it's going to do is send water up to the dam there, and you know, and that's the bottom line. You know, I feel for the fishermen because so many of our people from Dauphin River, Lake St. Martin, Little Saskatchewan, and so forth, their licenses have been bought off them because they were kind of vulnerable. They needed the money at the time because there was no fish. And when they go fishing now, they got to go to the middle of the lake. They can't fish where they used to fish their natural fishing habitats areas. And we get that same in Lake Manitoba. We only have one fishing season, which is winter, And how can you go fishing when there's no ice up until January now? It's finally thick enough to go. You know how I know is because one of my elders here, knowledge keeper Robert Maytrashin, goes and he goes and catches, and he harvests for himself. He doesn't catch for everybody, and that's what it's about, right? Harvesting for ourselves. And also about the hunting. So, you know, let's talk about the hunting. So, you know, we're given rules, regulations by the government of Manitoba how we go about hunting. You apply for that permit, and you put on that permit, oh, I'm going to go with so-and-so, and I'm going to take this, this, and this, and I'm going to go to these areas. When you go to those areas, you're being set up because the game wardens know where you are. You can go into the fields and the crownland areas. They're waiting there because I've seen it. I've been pulled over by the game wardens because of that state. And who's all in your car? They want to check who are you with, and this is who I'm with. And if you have anybody outside of that, well, you're going to get charged for hunting without, you know, the proper people that's in your vehicle. And that person's never touched a bullet or anything, right? So those need to be looked at, you know. And you know, for my community of Lake Manitoba, I can tell you, I have one band member, you know, and I've told him, don't post on social media. He's killed many elk, you know, from McCreary area. He posted that they're running by and he shoots it, and that's on him. He set himself up for that, so it makes us all look bad for that, right? You know, and I've seen it. Because, you know, in this room here, you have a Hall of Fame of poachers, you know, and I'll be honest, I'm one of them. But, you know, like, I just, you know what, when I go, I just go and kill enough for myself. I don't go out there and kill, you know, I just want to make a trophy or find a trophy animal. And just like, you know, I have a counselor, Dwight Paul, he's the same way. He goes out, he harvests for his family. He's like Robert, he harvests for his family. Our community members, we all harvest for one another. We have a community hunt, you know, and we do that, and we pay for the animals, and, you know, and we try and make the best of what we got. So when we talk about being accommodated by the province on the night lighting, so I'm going to tell this story because I think it's actually neat. So we had the night lighting people from the province come, and I always call him the wolf. He was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Rob Niziavik was on that side of the fence with the province. All of it, I went to the standing committee, talk about the night lighting. All of a sudden, boom, the night lighting ban is on. Nobody can, you know, you can't spotlight anymore. So, but, you know, having said that, I've learned many things about the government of Manitoba. Don't try and act on what you say to them. Try and do different, do the other thing. Don't tell them nothing. It's the best thing to tell them. I've learned that. So, you know, I'll just say with that, I just wanted to share that story about how, you know, how our own people set ourselves up for failure because we want to have the big trophy. You know, just last week I was telling Ron, one of my community members was notified by the game wardens that he got half an elk processed. Does your community need it? And I said, well, who shot? And I asked him, who shot the elk? Well, there was a guy on camera. They couldn't charge him, but he wasn't First Nation. But I tell you what, if it was a First Nation shooter, he'd be charged, right? So with that, I'll say me guts. Have a good day.
Thank you, Jim. Hi, Jesse Spence, is your son Joe here? Is he shy? Oh, he must be a little bit shy. All right, so I'm going to keep moving forward here. Well, we have the opportunity before lunch. We got a few minutes to lunch. We don't really have, you know, a representative to talk about the issues surrounding our fishery. You know, Chief McLean just touched upon it. I passed tobacco to Henry Travers, a good friend of mine, and spent all his life on the lake. And I just wanted to ask him if he could say a few words in regards to the issues that they deal with in regards to legislation and policy. Yeah, and we will have lunch shortly, and then we'll look at remarks from our politicians.
Great in Magabi Zaik na Kabi Anutamek Kenina Henry Travers is Nikas waiting to Unti Kung ulit di wan sunigan kahit ni kadek chigi sa kan. Ni di ka kasi nagtawid yan kening. Di po kasi nagtawid. Kawin di po ako siya kami pun masih kaya magas sinungan tawid yan sa mi kening kapisi ang bigi kuhan yung matong taksiwan. Ma we kimi ni kuha siwin na. Kung nani guys ni kadek mini kuha siwin. Kuenga kita kuenga ni sinabi mi wega kituan wes na kami ni buwan ay si biga the children see children do up school minongum esip marketing but ay kinita mun nemi we maybe sa din na wato ite ka kun tiyan kinode stigon mi sumstak at sukanan ugi gan munawa ugi abasyawa we mat si de wa kipi tu wat kevin wa si ko ke ni na wit no gum ka kap mat si yang ni we no gum ke ni bi ni sa i si we de pe ta mo ni wa ine ki te pe ta wat mani tun ino ze ne ki ni akke ki ni go se ben mi we ga si mat si hat sum si ba ne ke ne tu mo to ka wa ka na pin mi ga si mat si hat ki mi sum sina ni ku na ni tas mi wa kwenga ikip si kumana sa kapige kung takay kituan tas kawin ke ko note barach pe to sin kabinagan awege kun note propis sumasi uma bihat chu gamakan ma bihat ki kitun ni hok kiga ki sumun ni makina ma bi e bi san de ni gangi ke na sin ma ta gano ni na gok nunga gi sigat batta ni no esam ni we chup ma ti jan kaw nin pagkito mo ini may son tinin kawitis nin no ikan kakche pagkito hot 9 minutes anis gi kana maguk kaya chan sinabi 9 minutes kasi pagkit ni kayan higo ya boss magmasa sa galing miyo nunga kisi kagbibinisan tas minawa uyog kagi kituan magani to itunaguk asa kinwes biangis representative for Manitoba at the National Fishery Table. That's where I sit. That's the position I had all these years now. It's quite a few years now I've been there. No, I never take advantage of that. But I wanted to kind of spread the message. Earlier this fall we had a fishery gathering in Broken Head, Manitoba. We had a national fish gathering November 21st for 3 days, and we invited all fishermen across Canada. That's what I did as a representative, along with AFN. You know, we co-hosted the meeting at the Broken Head Reserve with the permission of the chief and the community. We did that. We participated in our meeting over there, which I'm very thankful for today yet. You know, we didn't get the full report yet, but we're going to have a report coming out because prior to the meeting, I had offered tobacco to our new premier, but he didn't show up like today. He's not here yet. I don't know if he's come yet, but somehow that's what I did. I followed the protocol over Anishinaabe ways. So that tobacco is a very high honor to get for you to go and come and talk, come and speak to the membership at large, wherever and whenever. So that's what we did. But basically, you know what I want to say is I'm a grandfather. You know, I really love my grandchildren. I have a lot of great grandchildren already, and those are the ones I'm concerned about. Myself, I'm not. I'm getting to be of age, and I've been doing this for the last since 1980. Two of my late brothers were chief for 40 years, two of them. And each one of them, they gave me a position to carry on this fishery file in my community. So that's what I've been doing all these years. I guess some of you seen me here and there. That's what I do. I advocate for my community, for my home. I worked for freshwater fish for 15 years as a president You know, I got sick of it. I let that go. I didn't get nothing out of there. All I got was getting sick from there. So I just let it go, and I went on my own. I didn't need anybody to give me an appointment, because we have that right. Every one of us here in our home, we have a right to represent our families. That's what we're supposed to do. But a lot of cases, it's not like that. We're kind of missing things like that to represent our communities properly. But anyway, I want to share that with you this afternoon. I don't want to say too much. Like, I'm happy that everybody showed up. You know, I wish I could say more, but that's all I'll say for now. Maybe there's a lot of other people that wants to talk that can give more information to this. I know that's what I'm all about. And also, I know that our organizations, they don't represent our treaties, but somehow we try and work along with them. You know, that's what I want to say. Like, I depend on AMC, SCO, you know, the tribal council, whoever. I don't despise them. I don't say they're doing wrong, but this is what I've been doing. I've been walking like that because of the position that I got from my community. Chime guys kitin nem nakom nem kinamagabi sa ay gabi bisin to make me wet.
Thank you, Henry. So I just checked, lunch will be ready in a few minutes, and we'll break for a half an hour. And so we did a registration, or we did have people call in, and so we were set for about 170 people, and there's probably like 200 people here today. So I asked that, you know, the young people, let the elders and our women in that eat first, and then if there's anything left, and I want to apologize. That's why we had on the thing, a registration. Call in to let us know how much people are going to attend. I'm very overwhelmed with all the amount of people here today. That shows that there is a lot of concern about the subjects that we talk about here today. And I'm very appreciative that everybody has attended and showed up here to participate in this event. But this afternoon, as you see, we're not taking responsibility saying that this is what we're going to be doing. We all have to work together as a collective. And this afternoon, we'll talk about next steps. We got leadership in the room. And while we're waiting for lunch to be finished off, being prepared, I'd like to call, is she still there, Amanda Laughlin? Or did she step up? Oh, she went upstairs? All right. Well, when she gets back, we'll, so with that, we'll do a Q&A this afternoon. I just want to keep, like, it's just about 12. I'm not trying to disrespect you. I just want to, those of you that want to grab a cigarette or whatever, those of you that are ready, I'm pretty sure everything is ready to go back there for lunch. Yeah. All right, so lunch is in the back there. There's soup and sandwiches there and other things. Those of you that want to go back there, you can start helping yourself to the food. Yeah. Prayers were said this morning for everything today, for the blessing for lunch and as we move forward.
We'll be back after lunch.